It's been a while, but we're still at the foot of Mount Sinai. It's been a while. It's been a long while, because last week we didn't get together, but that was the week of the episode of the golden calf. So we know that Moses, after the revelation, stayed up the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, receiving the commandments, receiving the Torah. And he comes down with the tablets of the law. And as he arrives at the foot of the mountain, he sees most of us, not all of us, but most of us, engage in idol worshiping. We had gathered all the gold that we had generously been gifted by the Egyptians as we left Egypt. It's a very interesting passage in the Torah, actually. And we melted it all into a golden calf, which was one of the gods of Egypt. And here we were, worshiping again as we probably used to back in the good old days. Moses sees the display and is besides himself. So much so that he takes the tablets and he breaks them, understanding full well that we were not ready to receive them. Clearly, we were not ready. And so he goes back up, and is going to stay back up the mountain for another 40 days and another 40 nights. And so in this Torah portion, there's a transmission that is happening at the top of the mountain between God and Moses. And the transmission is that of the plan to eventually build a sacred space, a tabernacle in the middle of the wilderness that will accompany us on our journey. We don't know yet. We're going to be there for a while, about 40 years. So far, we're on our way to the promised land. There's been no problem. We should be there any time now. After Moses comes back down from the mountain, we'll be on our way, but we don't know that we are going to need this tabernacle for longer than we think. And the tabernacle will be hosting the Ark of the Covenant, where the tablets and the Torah will be stored inside of this sacred structure, in which you will have the 7-branched menorah made of pure gold. So we're going to recycle the golden calf eventually. The table for the loaves of bread, the laver, and all the things that are going to go into that. And Moses, there is a transmission that's happening when God gives basically the IKEA booklet of how to build the tabernacle. With the wrench and the pegs, and you know how it goes. And the little guy, there's always this little guy drawn. Something like that. And the key sentence, that God speaks to Moses as he's about to give him the details of the plan are the words that are inscribed here at the top of our ark. Right here. Carved into the wood. You read from right to left. Ve'asu li mikdash. Ve'shachanti betocham. Usually we translate it as, let them make me a mikdash, a sacred space, a holy space, a unique space, a separate space, that I might dwell in their midst. That's usually the mainstream translation. But like I have said before, we don't read the Torah or any of our scriptures or any of our prayers on the literal level. We always read them not according to what we think it means on the outside, but according to what it means on the inside. Ve'asu li mikdash ve'shachanti betocham. We understand it as let them carve within themselves, within them, a sacred space, that they might remember that I dwell within them. Because the truth of the matter is, we have forgotten. The Holy One of being is the Holy One of our being. That holy presence already dwells within us. We are the ones that are forgotten. We got caught into believing that we are this ego self thing, this separate self that goes about being miserable all the time. And we forgot that the source of our being, the true nature of our being. So the injunction is, let the ego make believe it is creating a sacred space so that it can remember that it isn't here, that I am the only one here. See, it's like we are trying to trick the ego by having the ego do something in order for the ego to realize it wasn't there in the first place. It's very beautiful the way it's done. But it's nice. It's nice to hear. It's nice. It's the nice words. Makes sense somewhat. Maybe not. I don't know. But how do you go about doing that? It's like, I also want the IKEA plan. How do I create the inner tabernacle? How do I make that happen for myself in my life? And our sages are saying it's a fourfold path that we are to embark upon. And the first one is the path of hoda'ah. Hoda'ah in Hebrew means gratitude, thankfulness, gratefulness. This is the first step on our journey. If you were to build your inner tabernacle, your inner temple, that would be the foundation. You're laying down the foundation. The foundation is hoda'ah, gratitude, thankfulness. You know that word hoda'ah in a different form because you know the modeh ani or the moda ani. This is modeh or moda is the same. This come from the same root, hoda'ah, from gratitude. So when we say, in our tradition, those are the first words we have to say. Every time we awaken in the morning, you open your eyes, the first thing you say is Modeh Moda'ani, if you're in this incarnation, identifying or embodied as a female, as the divine feminine. Moda'ani. How grateful. How impossibly grateful I am for this moment, for this day. For this breath, for my eyes being able to look around at the familiar room. How grateful I am to be given this opportunity, these few hours, to paint on this blank canvas of this day what I would like to see awakening. How grateful I am to be given this opportunity to participate in the unfolding of you, Holy One. Modeh ani lefanecha, the third word, which already brings us to here and now. Modeh ani, how grateful I am. How grateful I am in your presence right now. Ani lefanecha. I am in your presence. I am your presence. Because there's a little bit also of what you would call it. It's kind of a surrender into the flow of that presence of the universe, where we are called upon to be the hands, the mouth, the voice for that manifestation of oneness in our world. It's like we're called to serve the divine within. And so we awaken in gratitude for this opportunity to serve the unfolding of God as this world, in this world. Co-creator of whatever comes next. And that's the foundation. Now, in order to build a temple, what you need after that is, pillars, columns. I'm building a Greek temple. And the pillars in Judaism is called avodah. Avodah. Avodah usually can get translated as work. It's also translated as worship. In fact, it is spiritual work, spiritual practice. These are the pillars of the way we transform ourselves into a container for the One, a holy, sacred space. And these pillars are different modalities of practice, but they are essential. Some of us connect mostly with the practice of meditation, in the silence of the self, in the rhythm of the breath. We move beyond the separate sense of self and tap into the I am, that is beyond the little I. We reconnect with our source. We reconnect with the truth of our being. But meditation is not the only modality of spiritual practice. For some of us, we awaken to the divine as we find the divine in the midst of the forest, on the beach at a sunset or a sunrise, listening to some great music, walking through the halls of a museum of art, watching the paintings of God all over. I used to be a photographer back in the days. I even went to photo school for 3 or 4 days. Maybe a little more. You know what I liked about photography, and those who are into photography, I'm sure will agree with me, is that there is something about looking at the world through this viewfinder. Because when you do that, you put yourself in looking for beauty, looking for uniqueness. And you walk down the street, the same street you've walked down all your life, but if you have your camera, the crack in the sidewalk suddenly becomes art, magic, a miracle. Especially if there's a little blade of grass there. Oh my God, it's like a metaphor for life pulsing through the concrete. And you take that picture, only you really is ever going to like that picture. Maybe not. But you see what I mean? I mean, that's how you find God, by rearranging how you look at the world. Do you know how we look at the world? When we walk down the streets like this. That's how we look at the world. I like looking at the clouds on the top of the buildings. Sometimes I look down to make sure that I'm still going to step on the sidewalk and not somewhere else, but like we never take the time to kind of look around. Because that's where we find the divine. And then the divine that we find on the outside is reflecting back at us because we are part of the outside. We too are the divine manifesting. So we take selfies. If only we could see selfies as self-portrait of God. Can you imagine if we could get to that place? How is God doing right now? Not so good. And there's another spiritual modality is to enter into this kind of a relationship. This relationship with a great thou, whatever that is. Maybe great thou is not exactly what I mean, the great love, capital L. Can we enter into a relationship with that great love, that great loving presence, however we understand it? Maybe we can talk to it, can bring it into our lives, the beloved. And we move even through this kind of spiritual practice from communion with that great love to union. I am one with that love. To identity, I am that love. And there you have the pillars. But the pillars, you can't just wish them to be there. You have to go and do the practices. That's the only way you can do it. So whatever your modality is, even if it's like a 5-minute meditation every day, 6-minute meditation every day, even if it's just a moment of awe in front of a child that would just run in front of the bima, whatever it is, in that moment, that connection. But you have to do it. You have to do it. There's another path that I love in Judaism, is the path of blessing. Like we have to find, it says in our tradition, we have to find 100, we have to say 100 blessings every day. So we say, Baruch atah Adonai for this, Baruch atah Adonai for that. You eat an apple, you eat whatever you say this, you do some of the blessings and the prayers, and therefore you said the words Baruch atah Adonai, and eventually you've gone to 100, so you can mail your report card to heaven. I've been good today. I've said Baruch atah Adonai 100 times. I want all the points. Or you can look at it as, try to find 100 opportunities to bless today. Try to find 100 things, moments to bless today. How is that going to change your life? So you have to do the practices. The next is the roof. So you have the foundation, the pillars, now you get the roof. The roof is called Torah. Torah is the Torah, as we understand it, the 5 books of Moses, or any of the scriptures of our tradition. But it also means teaching. It also means teaching. And therefore, it can be the scriptures of other traditions. We don't have to limit ourselves to our tradition. I kind of find great deal of learning through our tradition. But I also venture outside of our tradition. And oftentimes, when I look at what other faith traditions are doing, or other spiritual traditions are doing, I find my tradition reinforced. I find another angle. I didn't look at this in our books this way, but because I got that from you, I can go back, and my tradition is now even enriched. And there is so much, in that Torah was written 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago. It's not a book to read as a literal book. It's not literature. To me, it's a mystical poetry. It's mystical poetry, and we are to meet it every time anew because it has meaning in our lives. Every time we open the page again, because we are different every time we open the page. And so there is more. But the other aspect of Torah is what one of my favorite teachers call to keep conscious company. Adyashanti. It's a great Zen master, enlightened being. He always invites his students to keep conscious company. That's such a powerful teaching. It's like every day, touch base with your soul. Find a teacher on a YouTube channel that you want to listen to a quick video every day. Find a book, or 3 books, or 10 books of different teachers that are going to help you uncover and be in touch with your soul every day. Every day, a little something, keeping conscious company, learning from everywhere we can. So find a few teachers that can, email you stuff. I don't know. Find some great Rabbi or great guru on Facebook and get his or her stuff. Every day, a little something, a little reminder, or 2 or 3. Keep conscious company. It's very, very important. Learn. Learn to break free from the limitations of who you think you are. Because if you stop learning, you're dying. And that's why I like when we do, like we did this workshop on Sunday with Dr. Robin D'Angelo that came to talk to us. What does it mean to be white? a mind-expanding moment for me. It's like you get to be in a space where you challenge your worldview, when you're being challenged, where the walls of your understanding suddenly you go, ooh, I didn't know that about myself. Thank you. Like here was my narrow worldview about me as a white male walking through the world, and now I can see how that conditioning is impacting the world that I walk around. That was an opportunity for me to grow, to expand, to be more than I was before I started the day. So it doesn't have to be just spiritual gurus or stuff like that. It can also be, people that are helping us break free of the narrow confines of our shadows, of our ignorance. So here you have it, the foundation, the pillars, the roof, but all that doesn't matter if you don't have the fourth. Doesn't matter. If you don't have the fourth practice, then it doesn't matter. You will never transform yourself into the sacred temple that you already are. And that is Gemilut Chasadim. Gemilut Chasadim is acts of loving kindness. Because that's what we have to do. It's not enough to sit and be spiritually enlightened, to have built this great structure of sacred space within, if it doesn't translate into actions on the outside. No, that's why Moses comes back from the mountain. That's in our scriptures. It would have been so easy for Moses to stay up the mountain 40 days, 40 nights, twice, and say, you know what? You go back to Egypt. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm like in direct conversation with God right now. Do I need to go back and deal with all these Jews for 40 years? Who wants to do that? But that's not how it works. Moses comes down the mountain. Not only does he come down the mountain, he comes down with instructions. Because that's what you do. In Buddhism, you have to go back to the market. With the ox, you have to take the ox back to the marketplace. Because that's where spirituality awakens. That's where spirituality awakens. And to act in the world in loving ways, in kind ways, in supportive ways, to heal everywhere we can heal, to invite everywhere we can invite, to be a force for good everywhere we are invited. That's true spirituality. And then we transform ourselves into sacred beings, into sacred, shining, light being. And you don't have to wait to be enlightened to do that. In fact, you can start with that. Start with Gemilut Chasadim. Start with acts of loving kindness, because our tradition says by multiplying those actions, then all the rest will come. By multiplying those actions, we humble ourselves. Our ego gets eroded every time we do something for someone else. Every time we act compassionately.